Good afternoon. How's everyone doing on this beautiful Friday afternoon? Cheers, and it's good to be here. Welcome back to the Blockchain Brew Show. Welcome to the Brew Crew, the most hydrated crypto community on YouTube. Um, I'm gonna adjust my camera just a little. Um, Guys, Tyler is missing in action today. No, he's not missing. He has not been abducted. He has not been kidnapped. He is actually playing a little bit of poker tonight with I believe that's what he's doing with the Pluto Alliance community, right? Shout out if you hold any aliens. I need to show my aliens on stream sometime. I bought a couple of the cheap ones back in the day. Don't stone me, okay? I did not I did not ape into the Pluto Alliance NFT line. But you know, got a couple aliens back in the day in 2021. I have one, a Jupiter that me and my wife put on a T-shirt, and I like it. It looks cool. Okay. Anyways, so we have a little bit of news to get into today. Paul Atkins was sworn in as the new chair of the SEC, and I will share my screen. I also want to say, don't forget, I'm gonna throw a little bit of music in the background too. Um, what do you want? Acoustic, cinematic, dance pop? What do we got going on here? Lo-fi. Let's do some acoustic cinematic for the Brew Crew. All right. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. As I always say when Tyler's on, even though he's not here today, it is still true that if you subscribe to the channel, it will touch Tyler right in his heart. And don't you want to brighten someone's day? Smash the like and let us know you're here in the comments. I'm gonna let the music play while I pop something up on the comments. Or you, so bear with me. All right, let's do it. I will share my screen and get into the news about the new SEC chair, Paul Atkins. Let's see here. Share screen, present, share screen. So we have, I'm going to lower my camera one more time. We have SEC Chair Paul Atkins marks swift departure from Gary Gensler rulemaking. Newly confirmed United States Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Paul Atkins laid out what his tenure at the federal regulator will look like on Friday while giving opening remarks at the agency's third ever crypto roundtable. Atkins gives first crypto roundtable remarks as an SEC chair. drive forward balanced rulemaking regarding the digital asset industry while taking a swipe. Is that how a swipe goes? While taking a swipe at former, that's a weird way of saying it. You can throw a punch, right? You can make a dig. How do you take a swipe, right? Did he swipe right or did he swipe left is the question. While taking a swipe at former SEC head Gary Gensler's regulation by enforcement approach to the sector at the agency's DC headquarters. Atkins was quoted saying, "Market participants engaging with this technology deserve clear regulatory rules of the road." You hear that? Doesn't that touch you in your heart? Paul Atkins is saying that you deserve clear regulation. Innovation has been stifled for the last several years due to market and regulatory uncertainty that unfortunately the SEC has fostered. That one's big. This is the new head of an organization, coming in and taking accountability for the errors of that organization. And particularly when you're talking about the SEC, he's coming in and taking accountability for the ways that organization has hurt investors instead of protecting investors, right? He says innovation has been stifled for the last several years due to market and regulatory uncertainty that unfortunately the SEC has fostered. Chairman Paul Atkins remarks at the Crypto Task Force Roundtable today. "I look forward to engaging with market participants and working with colleagues in President Trump's administration and Congress to establish a rational, fit-for-purpose regulatory framework for crypto assets." Paul Atkins praises the SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce. Atkins' comments came just days after he was sworn in to lead the SEC in a White House ceremony where he vowed to apply a rational, coherent, and principled approach to cryptocurrencies at large. Atkins is widely seen as a pro-crypto spearhead to the U.S. regulatory environment, with reports indicating that the one-time SEC commissioner owns up to $6 million in digital assets himself. Now that's a sticky one, right? That's one that we debate a lot. How much should he be allowed to invest in markets that he is, at the very top of the regulating task force. But anyways, Friday, however, marked the first roundtable by the SEC's Crypto Task Force to feature Atkins as a panelist, and the public alike discussed custody rules and regulations. Launched in January, the agency's task force seeks to generate a comprehensive and clear regulatory framework for crypto by collaborating with the public to set the SEC on a sensible regulatory path. During his remarks on Friday, Atkins shouted out the SEC Commissioner and Crypto Task Force leader Hester Pierce for her tireless advocacy for common sense crypto policy in the U.S. Commissioner Pierce is the right person, not the left person, to lead the effort to come up with a rational regulatory framework for the crypto asset markets, he said. This is bullish. I mean, I'm a big fan of this. Hester Pierce, she has had a long track record of a pro-crypto sentiment in the middle of a very crypto hostile SEC. And, her loyalty to the space over the years has earned her our trust. And when Paul Atkins says that she is the right person to be tasked with crypto enforcement, I'm all for it. So let's come over here. JG, hey, sorry I didn't see you guys in the chat. I was on my other screen reading that article for you guys. What is up, JG? What is up, Cactus Pugnator. You are the best. You are the best. Real Meta Crypto, what up? I'm gonna hop over here for a minute, and I'm gonna play some of Paul Atkins' statements for us real quick. So let me turn off my music for just a minute. I will bring back the acoustic cinematic. Don't you worry. Also, in case you missed what I'm drinking, I've got an 805 Blonde Ale from Firestone Walker Brewing Company in hand. Something light and crisp right now, coming in at only 4.5% or so. You gotta pace yourself. Let's hear from Paul Atkins. Oh, did I not add any of that to the stage? I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. Share this tab. And am I up? Yes, I am up. Let's go ahead and have Paul Atkins take it away.
And eager to tackle long festering issues such as the regulatory treatment of digital assets and distributed ledger technologies, and working with my fellow commissioners and the staff in doing it, and soliciting outside input as well, obviously. So in addition, my warmest personal thanks go to Commissioner Peirce for her principled and tireless advocacy for common sense crypto policy within the United States. It's no wonder that she justly has earned the title of Crypto Mom. And Commissioner Peirce
Crypto Mom, he
the right
said.
person to lead the effort to come up with a rational regulatory framework for crypto.
I thought Wendy was Crypto Mom.
Markets. And thanks also to the panelists, both in this panel and the one to come, for volunteering their time and expertise on a Friday afternoon to come here and join us in Washington. So this is important work as entrepreneurs across the United States are harnessing blockchain technology to modernize aspects of the financial system. I expect huge benefits from this market innovation in terms of efficiency, cost reduction, transparency, and risk mitigation. Market participants engaging with this technology deserve clear regulatory rules of the road. Innovation, unfortunately, has been stifled for the last several years due to market and regulatory uncertainty that, unfortunately, the SEC has fostered. So I look forward to engaging with market participants and working with colleagues in President Trump's administration and Congress to establish a rational, fit-for-purpose framework for crypto.
Rational, as opposed to irrational. What's up, Tyler? Aren't you supposed to be playing
What
poker?
up? Yeah, I just had to stop in for like 5 minutes before I head out.
Well, take it away.
I had to tell JG I got liquidated my PopCat trade, and I had to close out my other 2 Bitcoin trades as a loss. It was a great day trading yesterday, learning lessons. Sometimes you could do it all right, and you listen to the cues, and they just don't play out. But you did everything correct, and you kept to your system, and that's what it's all about, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, right on.
I just want to point out that LCX is pumping too, which is nice. So 200.
We talked about LCX a little the other day. I wonder if it shows on Crypto Bubbles. Let's see.
Oh, JG, Trent, should I do a surprise show of what I found?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, it's out. I have to go get it. It's outside.
All right.
I'll be back in. So, like I said, I'm only gonna be here for 5 minutes. I'll come in. I'll show you what I found in the garbage, and I gotta go eat, and I'm leaving. Yeah, JG, don't you move. I'll be right back.
Bitcoin Satoshi Vision up 42%, 43%. What is up with that? Bonk. I was seeing Crypto Lifers TA on Bonk this morning. He was saying, it looks like it's in breakout territory for sure. He's expecting a pretty big, I think it was a bull flag, but breakout of a bull flag or something like that coming up pretty soon here. And that was on the 4-hour chart, I think. So you could look for Bonk to be pumping real soon. It's not really the way I trade. I wouldn't, up 27%. I wouldn't be looking to, get in it right now. But, you know, up 27% can also mean that, like, once it's I love the tea trash segment. Oh, yeah. Once something is up 27%, especially these meme coins, that can mean that it's really just the, the beginning of the pump. So,
All right, JG. So I've been on a roll lately. Somebody's throwing this out. I don't know if you can see what it is. And it is a weed eater. And it is, trying to see if I can turn it around, an Echo brand. And all what was wrong with it was these two screws right here were loose. I came home, I tightened them up, moved the shaft down, and they're fixed. And I could use the fuel that he left in it, and it started at one pull. So, what can I say? Anybody could use a brand new weed eater. I
heck
felt
yeah.
pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Whew, it is warm. But on that note,
that's what you
I
found
do-
in the trash. What'd you find at Costco?
I know, right? I found mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
That's for dinner. But I do gotta go because the baby's crying and the boys are screaming, and the wife's like, "You need to eat," and then we help me put the kids to bed so you can get out of here. So that is my agenda. But I wanted to stop and say hi. So hi, JG. I'm glad I can say hi to you. Hi, Cactus. Hi, Real Meta Crypto. Hi, Trent. Okay, now I'm leaving. Goodbye. Wish me luck. I'll let you know. Give you guys an update tomorrow and how well I did. Deuces.
Let's go. All right. So let's go back over here to Crypto Bubbles just for 1 second. And man, Fartcoin down 9%. Those comments from Paul Atkins, especially the part about being eager to what do you say exactly? Let me look at it. Says that he's eager to tackle issues facing Bitcoin and crypto in his first public speech. Come on. And he's saying, I expect huge benefits from this technology. Let's go. Over here on the bubbles, just at first glance, what am I interested in here? I would be highly interested in Render. I would be highly interested in XRP. I would be highly interested in Solana and Chainlink. I know those are all top picks, but look, they're top picks that are flat for the day. They're top picks that are flat for the last, probably flat on the hourly chart. We'll see when we get there. So, I'd be interested in algo too. I would get into those personally before I opened up a trade on something like Bonk. And that's just how I trade, let's see for the hour. What is going on the hour? I don't see anything too interesting. Let's see for the week. Man, everything is green for the week. Look at that. Everything is green for the week except Pi. I don't want to laugh. Like, I'm not, it's no shade on the people that are in that. I've been saying for a little while, I don't think that I don't think that Pi Network going live is going to be all that it's cracked up to be. Some people, someone's going to get rich for sure. The question is who, right? Like, somebody's getting rich off of this thing, but I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it. And I have a bad feeling that, most of the holders, first of all, where can they sell it right now? And that's a question I haven't fully researched myself because I don't have any. But if you're holding it, where can you sell it right now? If maybe you can pop that in the comments. But that's a big question mark over this, right? And then also, And obviously you can sell it somewhere because there's a price chart, but I don't know, man. I just think most of the holders got in this thing, you know, thinking that they're going to be rich. Stanford, Stanford team, Stanford developers, and you mine it on your phone for free. And I'm going to get rich. OKX and BitGet. Okay, got you. Um, and how many? I just think about some of the people that I know personally. Um, it's not like I've ran into a ton of them, but one woman at church that I had a conversation with 2 years ago, telling her that I'm in crypto and stuff like that. Um, at the time, and even still, I was doing some script writing and stuff for another YouTuber actually, and I was telling her about that, and she's like, "Oh, you're into crypto. You know, I'm I'm uh I'm in Pi. I press the button on my phone every day and I get the tokens for free. So I don't have to buy anything." And that mindset, right? Like I don't look, I'm not saying that people aren't like making gains from this, okay? I'm just saying from a broader perspective, that mindset of I'm going to get something without having to in do the investment. Pi is community based and habit based as well with the pressing loop. Yeah, exactly. I just think that the mindset is a problem for me. Somebody's getting rich out there. The question is who? The mindset of I'm going to get this big payoff for without developing the discipline of investing? I don't know. I don't know. Something sounds fishy about that. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what it is yet, but I see that mindset not ending well for a lot of people. It's just me. And you could say that about any coin, but the difference is that when you develop the discipline of investing, you know, eventually you learn the discipline of profit taking. You might not you might round trip your bags the first couple times, but you learn more about yourself, you develop better habits, and you wake up every morning and set out to do it better the next time. And Pi doesn't give you any of that. I don't know. I don't see it. Um, so that was I got on that rant just because of crypto bubbles. Let me just take one more cursory scan over this. Turn my music back on too. Now that T Square left the studio. Man, shout out to Tyler, man. This guy, you know, I have to take certain nights off. Because of church and stuff. And Tyler's in church too, Sunday morning and stuff. But my wife and I serve in a youth group, and we do some things that we got going on that we're making a spiritual investment in the lives of these kids, and do that on Wednesday night, and sometimes that brings other nights of the week with it too. And there's just certain nights where I can't be here, and Tyler has been like a man on a mission, streaming every night for days. So shout out to Tyler in the chat. What else do we got going on here on the bubbles? Polygon up 31%. Man, I have been bearish on Polygon for a while. Even toward the end of last year, like I did not like how the chart was making lower lows than it made in the bear market. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think the bear market low in 2022 was like 33 cents or something like that. And I watched Polygon make like a 30-cent low in September or whatever it was last year. And it's not like it ripped through quarter four either, through our sort of fake out altcoin season. So I just don't know with Polygon. It's gotta pump, right? It's gotta pump. this year, and especially in the real altcoin season. But man, there's so many things I would rather be in. BNB flat. ADA, I think, you still a lot of opportunity on ADA, Render, XRP. That's where I'd be looking at if my hand was forced to go into some lower tier. I would go Algorand, FET. I mean, Render's in that tier with those two as well. I just like it a whole lot. I would go Algo. I would go FET. FET has its disappointments for sure. Particularly just being slow to roll out, right? But it is for the narrative play. It is going to pump. Algo, FET, HBAR, GRT. Algo, FET, HBAR, GRT. Outside of the top dogs that I mentioned, those would be the ones that I'm looking at right now. And downside of Pi is government, CIA, KYC, shitty fake tech. But community and habit is enough to pump crypto projects, in my opinion. Absolutely. Yeah, we see evidence of that every day, right? So let's come over to the charts and see what we got cooking. Right now, on the weekly chart, and I will cover more than just Bitcoin as well. And so anything that you want me to cover, since we don't have a structured show today, usually Tyler's the one to, branch out other stuff. I don't mind doing it either. Anything you want to see, go ahead and pop it in the chat. We'll talk about it. For the moment, share this tab instead. And we've got the King Crypto, as the news outlets like to say. I hate when TradingView does that. Reload this site. Man, I gotta exit out of that altogether. Okay, TradingView. And present my screen again. Share screen, TradingView, track all markets. We do have a TradingView link, by the way, in the description. Then come over to my cleaner chart. As if that's any cleaner. I said my cleaner's chart and I still have a million things on it. Okay. On the weekly. Man, this is going to be a huge weekly close. Huge weekly close above the 21 EMA. And it's starting to press into this low volume node right here. It's starting to push up into it. And it's fighting with it. The RSI has the purple line is crossed over the yellow line, signaling a move back up in momentum. The MACD is curving up, and the MACD line will meet the signal line. That we're on the weekly chart though, so it will take a couple more candles for that to cross, but that looks like it's where it's headed. We don't want to fall back into this low volume node, but that's why I've drawn these support lines, because there is more order volume than we think. From just looking at the VRVP, there is more order volume there than we realize. These little nodes of volume are not as little as you might be conditioned to think. those are still important lines of support. That's why I drew those lines, coming back to on a Bybit. I don't know why it doesn't want to take me back that far, but I drew those lines. Let me see. That's what it is. I drew those lines based on the daily chart. So if we come down here to the daily, we will see where I drew those lines and why. Right? We have touch points, either of candle bodies or candle wicks, several touch points, more than 6 to 8 touch points on every one of these lines that I drew. And back here, see, this is in the 80 and above, so you won't have any going backwards. But with the data that we have, which all of it is on the screen, if I squeeze it in, all of it is on the screen here, going back to November. You could even say going back to November. We'll say that. The breakout of the bull flag from last year. So I'm also going to get rid of it. I don't know why that line is there. In a trash can that. So, like I said, we're forming a bull flag here on the daily, and we've just started a new candle open, and it looks like it wants to open above this bull flag. If that's what happens, then it may not actually be a bull flag that we've formed, as much as, doesn't that almost look like a 3 white soldiers formation? I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh, no chart. Sorry about that. Doesn't that almost look like a 3 white soldiers formation there? I'd have to, check up on that precisely, because the length of the wicks are throwing me off a little bit. So it could be that it's not a bull flag that we're forming, and we're sort of just getting this bullish candle formation that's gonna continue upward. That very well could be the case. Let's come over back to let me come back to trading view on my screen. BTC. Man, every time I squeeze this chart, if I double click it and try to reset chart, I didn't want to do it. I gotta close this thing out again. Trading view. Full chart. And present my screen again. Come to a more clean chart. Okay, so coming down to the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, see, it looks like on the 4 hour, that's not a bull flag that was forming. We're gonna go ahead and remove these lines, because I think that's not the pattern that we're gonna form. We have this V-shaped pattern here, and it looks like we're, let me draw a horizontal line. It's like we're, breaking this and retesting. And the 21 EMA just continues to move up. This is really, really great, because it means that the next dip that we get, I say this all the time, the 21 EMA is a magnet for price action. So as the 21 EMA continues to move up, it means that we don't have to get as big of a retrace in order to come back and test it. Right now, we can retest the 21 EMA on the 4-hour chart at 93,000 even, which sounds a heck of a lot better than 91.6 just earlier this week. So I feel really good about that. Come to the 1-hour chart, and we're holding along the 21 EMA here. We've we ran past it, we came back to meet it here, moving sideways, and we looked like we could move back up. We're above the point of control on the 1 hour, and we're continuing to make higher highs on the 1-hour chart. We're cooling off here on the MACD and the RSI, but that's fine though. We want that. Let's come down to the 15-minute. Okay, we've lost the 21 EMA on the 15-minute, which is fine because it's the 15-minute chart. It's going to lose it and regain it over and over again. We could be looking at the end of a bearish move here according to the MACD. And it could cross back bullish. The MACD line crossing above the signal line and above the 0 line could be coming within the next several candlesticks for the 15-minute. If it does, then I would consider a long entry if I was scalping. The 1-minute chart. Man, the bulls are buying up that wick on the 1-minute chart. But, I don't know. This is chop right here. I don't know what to say one way or the other about this. Because you are above, you wick back up above the point of control, kind of. Point of control keeps moving. But we definitely, that doesn't look too bottomish on the RSI yet. Like, you have room to go down. And on the 1-minute chart, like the chart is going to complete this pattern more often. It's going to make more round trips from the top of the RSI, from 70 to 30 on the RSI. It's going to complete that range way more, many more times than on the daily chart, for example. Because there's more data. There's more candlesticks closing. So, right here, you see it from almost 70 all the way down to 30, back up to almost 70, back all the way down to 30. Came up, lost steam, came down to 30. Went back up, bumped down, ran back up to 70, hung out there, chopped around that zone, came back all the way almost down to 30, popped up really quick, came back down to 30. On the 1-minute chart, you can almost scalp effectively. Oh, it looks like we're, okay, that did look bottomish. We are getting back above the 200 EMA on the 1-minute chart. And if this candle right here holds, I could scalp that. I could feel good about scalping that. Because getting above the 1-minute, or getting above the 200 EMA, which is this red line up here on the 1-minute chart, is your first sign of a reversal. Not only that, the RSI has held here and it's popped back above the yellow line. And it looks like it did not need to come all the way down to 30 just yet anyways. Of course it will eventually. But it did not need to come all the way down to 30 in order to bottom here. We have this W shape on the RSI. By the way, on the RSI, I am all for, looking at shapes. You're just making observations, right? It's the scientific method. Part of the scientific method is to look at data and make observations. It doesn't mean that they're gospel truth. You're just making observations. And then you're going to test your observations, right? you're going to test those observations to see how they hold. But, you know, I don't see a lot of people do this, but I'm not against looking at the RSI itself and saying this looks like a W, right? I'm not against looking at the RSI. You know, if I scroll back far enough, I'm sure I can find an M. You know, that's a wonky looking M, but it looks like an M, right? Because what really is an M pattern at the end of the day? It's a double top. And double tops aren't always going to be, you know, perfectly formed. But, you know, what is a W? At the end of the day, it's a double bottom, right? And right here, if we look at this instance for some backtesting data, you know, this looks like a wonky looking W right here. Not only that, also this right here looks like a W. Okay, on this one, you would actually get a little bit of bullish divergence. Right, I'll color that yellow. You get a little bit of bullish divergence on oh wait, no, that's not bullish divergence. It would need a higher low on the RSI, so forget that. But you are looking at that sort of you know, double bottom on the RSI. The RSI is making that W pattern. Same thing right here. That's almost a perfect W leading to a breakout. You know, just like I'm not against drawing trend lines on the RSI either. Right? I'll color this red for us so it's distinguishable from the yellow line on the RSI. You know, but you know, look, you can draw a downtrending line on the RSI right here, and look what happens when it breaks. It coincides perfectly with this breakout right here on the candle. So, you know, there's a little trick for you that I use personally. I'm not against drawing lines on the RSI, on the relative strength index. I'm not against observing patterns on the relative strength index. So, you know, just something to keep in mind. Let's see. What else do we want to look at here on the charts? Tyler saying I should look at SPX 6900. Everybody asks for that all the time, so I'll pull it up briefly. SPX 6900. USDT on MEXC. Let's do that one. And just in case an SPX guy pops on here, and pop that on the screen just so they can see it, entice them onto the live stream a little bit. So this here's what throws me off about trading this, is that I like to look at every time frame, right? And when you get into really low cap, low volume coins like this, I'm going to change the music real quick. We've been on that one for a little bit. Feeding the ducks. How about feeding the ducks? I'm digging it. A little better, right? A little better. The other one started to get on my nerves just a little bit. So, come back over here. And I'm gonna lower the volume just a little bit, so my voice is more prominent than the volume. How about that? You know, I'm not a loudspeaker as it is. I can be, but so what I don't like about trading things like this, about trading charts like this, is that I like to look at every time frame. And some of these coins have too little volume for me to want to make anything out of the 1 minute chart here, right? I have to go up to, let me see how many time frames I have to go up to get a fluid chart. Okay, 2 minute looks okay, but there's still a lot of gaps. Still a lot of gaps. 3 minute looks even better, but there's still some really important gaps that I don't like. You know, I want to know what happened here in this gap. Obviously nothing on the 3 minute. That's what it's telling us, right? But let's come up here to 7 minutes. Okay. See, so on the 7 minute, I can see that the price got above the 50 EMA and got rejected at the 100. Rejected just a little bit, and then eventually came up above it. On the 7 minute, or yeah, it actually came above both of them. But on the 7 minute chart, I can see that pushing through, and I can see it extending the Bollinger Bands up here. I still don't like, you do still have some gaps right here. I just don't like trading that chart. And there's other indicators, like I get it, some people trade based off of the cycle of the moon, for God's sake, right? Like, some people will trade, purely off of Twitter sentiment, and they have their ways of doing that. To each his own, and if it works, it works. But I just don't like trading something that I can't see a fluid chart on. I have to go all the way up to like the 15 minute chart, and then I'm still getting a gap right here. I would prefer to see some sort of wick there. It just helps me assess what I'm looking at. Now, I can't be too picky about this one, right? There's just one gap on that chart, and everything else that I need to see, I can see. So I can't be too picky about that one, but it's just funny looking at Bitcoin so much, like, to see a gap there like that is, it hurts my eyes. Come up to the 1 hour chart, and okay, we're looking fluid now. And well, I think that looks bullish. Because you're getting such a big green candle off of the 21 EMA, the white line here. And so it wanted to come under it, and the bulls bought it back. And the next candle was a bullish engulfing candle. And then we stayed above the 21 EMA on the next one, even though it was a red candle. And now we've got another huge bullish engulfing candle. It's twice the size of the red candle before it. The hour has yet to close, though, so that would be important. We've still got 26 minutes for that close. But as of the moment, we have a huge bullish engulfing candle coming off of the 21 EMA. So that, that looks bullish to me. RSI is only at 56. It has room to run. The MACD definitely says that it still needs a cool off. But the red is starting to fade a little bit on the volume bars down here. It could start to round out. So it's the 1 hour, let's see, 4 hours. I would like to, I'm not going to long this anyways because I don't know anything about it, but I would like to not long this personally, when it's this far above the 21 EMA on the 4-hour, unless you were scalping, right? Unless the 1 minute chart was giving you a scalp. But then again, we don't have. It's hard to read the 1 minute chart on this coin, right? I have to go to an hour or above to feel comfortable personally reading this chart. And at those time frames, I don't feel comfortable in a swing trade right here when we're this far above the 21 EMA. The 21 EMA is a magnet for price action. Let's go to the daily. Let me check out the comments real quick. Okay. Show some love in the comments if you're still hanging around. Daily chart. Okay, this is where I can see a little bit of I can see it. I can see why someone would want to get in right here. We are peaking above the 100 EMA. We can't see the 200 EMA on this chart because there's probably not 200 days. Yeah, there's not 200 days of price action. So we don't have a 200 EMA. What we have to work with is the 21, the 50, and the 100. We're getting above the 100, which normally I would say that getting above the 200 is your most bullish sign of a reversal. We don't have that to go off of. But I wonder that if we did have more data on this chart, I wonder if the 200 would be, sitting right around here. That's what it looks like to me because, how many days of data is this? This looks like 150 days of data, right? So if we only had 50 more days of data and those 50 days were in this range or up here, just depends on where the launch is, right? This launched lower though. This was bullish on its launch. So if it had launched 50 days earlier, launched from down here, we'd have all of that lower price data to take into consideration, which would bring the 200 EMA down probably closer to where the 100 is. So, in theory, if we had a 200 EMA line, it could still be, pushing its way above it or sitting just below it and wanting to break out. Or it could be that this wick would have bounced off of it. I know this is complete conjecture that I'm giving you right now, but this is also a brand new meme coin or whatever this is. It is a meme coin, I know that. Hell, you can look at the chart and probably know that it's a meme coin. So I don't know. The fact that it's holding above the 100 EMA and that's the longest time frame that we have, it might pop. Also, the MACD is, crossing the 0 line. The RSI is kind of medium high, but it has room to go. And then it can always cool down up here. So, yeah, I do have to say it looks bullish. You are forming higher highs or higher lows. I mean, you have a low right here on March 11th. You have another section of lows right here around April 10th. You have a higher low right here around April 22nd. So you're getting these higher lows and the 21 EMA is curving up. It does look bullish, I think. But I wouldn't mess with leverage on this. Me personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable. But then you have another dilemma, right? This leaves you with another dilemma, which is how much of your spot bags do you want to throw at something like this? And it should never be more than 1% of your portfolio. So if you're not using leverage, how much money do you have to throw at it to get to get bang for your buck? That's a question that I have when it comes to this coin. So let's see here. Let's see. Welcome again to the Brew Crew, in case there's anyone new in here. Welcome to the most hydrated community on YouTube. Yeah, if you were throwing your spot bag at this, like, how much does it take to get bang for your buck on something like this? I don't know. That's a question mark. Now, again, by the same token, no pun intended, you can throw as little as $100 at something like this, and it is not impossible to walk away with 10 grand, or more. Who knows? And I think it's the who knows that is attractive to people when it comes to charts like this, when it comes to coins like this, when it comes to meme coins in general. It's the addiction of the who knows, right? It does the same thing to your mind as the lottery or the slots, or I'm not saying that it is gambling, because there's more data that you're taking in than just gambling. Me personally, even though I'm not a meme coin guy, I think that that's a little offensive to a lot of the good meme coin traders out there, right? Like, some of these people spend hard time, on X, on Twitter, finding out what the next hottest narrative is and jumping on it before anyone else knows what it is. And so, it's not, I'm not saying it is gambling. It's not. It depends. The difference between whether it is gambling or it isn't, you're the difference, right? You are the difference. So I'm not saying it is gambling, right? People spend hard time in research on this stuff to find the trend before it's a trend. And also, there is some chart data. Anytime there's chart data, like, you can do analysis and make your decisions based on your analysis. And there's no way to buy a lotto ticket based off of analysis, right? So it's not gambling. I think we need to stop saying that it is gambling. It's not. It might be gambling for you. That doesn't mean that it's gambling for the person that's good at this sort of stuff. I stay away from it personally, but I have to give credit where credit is due out there for the people that ride these waves and crush it. What am I looking at next? If anyone's in the chat, give me something to look at. If not, if you don't give me something to look at, you're going to be stuck watching me look at Cardano ecosystem charts. So I'm going to look at the Indigo chart. I'm going to look at the Iagon chart. I'm going to look at Snap. So you're gonna be stuck watching me chart the Cardano ecosystem if you don't give me something else to chart. How about that? Before we do, I think I'll take a little break from the charts, and I'll come over here and I'm gonna play, just because I plan on streaming for a while, guys. If you're here, I plan on being here. I plan on being here until I'm gassed out, to be honest. So I'm gonna come and I'm gonna play all of Charles Hoskinson's live stream today. It was just 30 minutes, and I'm gonna react to it. This one I haven't watched yet, so I'm just gonna react live.
Hello, a little under the weather today, but I wanted to make a video because everybody's talking about a variety of different things as it relates to the budget. And I think it is important that we have a fact-based, reality-based conversation about where we're currently at and what's going on. So when you do product development and you make a product, you have to make some decisions about how do you compete in a broader ecosystem. So when we look at Cardano as a protocol has to compete in its way against Sui and Aptos and Ethereum and Solana, and dozens of other smart contract systems. We have one large pool: liquidity, token flows, transaction volume, dApps, users, and other such things. So when you look at a budget, you don't just spend money for the sake of spending money. You spend money to chase a vision of how you're going to win. Pretty simple. It's what Apple does when they think about the iPhone. It's what Microsoft does when they think about Windows. It's what Google does when they think about Android and Google Search and Gemini. It's what OpenAI does when you think about ChatGPT. Where do our customers come from? Where does our transaction volume come from? Where are we going to get TVL from? Where are we going to get dApps from? How do we grow the ecosystem? So the budget should be a reflection of what core capabilities do we need, what philosophy are we following, and ultimately, where do we think we need to be as an ecosystem to be competitive, not just for today's neighbors, but for the ones that are coming in the future. And it's a moving target. So what you needed to be competitive as a cryptocurrency when I first started was that you'd fork Bitcoin, you'd change the monetary policy a little bit, and you'd be an altcoin. We saw this with Litecoin and Feathercoin and all these things. Obviously, that changed a lot in 2013, where people started building bespoke systems. They wrote their own code, their own consensus algorithms. We started adding new features that deviated from the Bitcoin features. And you saw that with what I did with BitShares and Dan Larimer. Saw that with what we did with Ethereum. We saw that with what the NXT community did. And it was a very different time. 2017 was a different time. 2020 was a different time. 2021 was a radically different time. And now 2025, we're in a completely different headspace as an industry. So when you think about a product roadmap and you think about funding for a product, you have to look at the totality of that. So what this document is a document that everybody's seen. It's been voted on. The DREPs approved, the majority of DREPs approved it as an info action. And it's the Cardano roadmap. And when we look at it, it thinks about a collection of categories and says, well, we got a lot of work we need to do and scalability and a lot of house cleaning that we need to do. Not scalability historically, because Cardano is a very performant protocol for where it was at, but scalability for the future. So how can we as a system process billions of transactions every day? How can we as a system keep up with where the other people's protocols are going? And there's a lot of ideas here because we don't know for certain which one of these ideas will be vogue. For example, there's state channels and roll-ups, Ouroboros Laos. There's a continued effort in building up the Mithril ecosystem. But then there's a lot of house cleaning that needs to be done as well to make Cardano an easier ecosystem for node diversification. Then you look at usability and utility, and you start asking around, well, how do we make Cardano as a platform as easy as possible for people to build on that platform? And so that's where you talk about things like Plutus, and Plinth
Mhm.
and Aiken, and you talk about identity, and you talk about privacy, you talk about intents. Babel fees are the first movement in that particular direction, which is one of the most important components of where the industry is going. Then you say, how are we as an ecosystem going to get users? Interoperability is a foundational necessary component for that to be achieved. You need to be able to talk to the other blockchain ecosystems. You need to be able to transact with them. You need to be able to work with them. So partner chains is a big component of that. And it's a big component about how we will grow and keep large projects like World Mobile in the Cardano orbit. Else they'll go away. And so this is a combination of these three pillars for the IOE side. And research has a vision of what foundational ideas do we need to put together for 3 to 5 years so that we can stay competitive as paradigms change. And baked into this is an understanding that we're going to continue investing heavily into governance. We're going to continue investing heavily into workshops. Baked into this is an understanding that we're also going to make sure that there's more leaders brought to the table. Node diversification, for example. Getting the Rust node where it needs to be, getting the Go node where it needs to be, getting the TypeScript node where it needs to be. So you have a lot more diverse ideas and engineers that come to the table. One of the things that will kill Cardano, and frankly speaking, kill any company that wants to be competitive, that actually wants to construct something, is if you take a product vision that is a composition of many different things, and then what you do is you just dissect the product vision piece by piece and tear out things with absolutely no understanding of why they're in there. So cell phone is a phenomenal example of this. These are a composition of many things. You have a camera, you have a CPU, you have memory, you have very sophisticated networking hardware, you have antennas, you have specialized equipment that allows it to understand its orientation in space and time, so that when you move your phone, it can rotate the image so you can always be reading the appropriate orientation. It's got a multi-touch display. It's got very sophisticated glass that's resistant to shattering. You have a very sophisticated battery that has to not explode when you charge it at 40 watts. You have many different peripherals. You have speakers. The chassis has to be waterproof. Could you imagine how difficult it would be to build a phone by committee? Just for a moment, think about that. Just let's put all the features of a phone on a table and just have people come in with various levels of expertise and experience and say, hey, I like that you have tungsten in there, but tungsten's too expensive.
JG, I just did some charting on SPX. The long and the short of what I was saying is just that, man, I have a hard time reading charts that are like, there's so many gaps on the lower time frames because the volume is thin, and I just like reading a fluid chart. So I have to really get up to the 1 hour or the 4 hour to be comfortable with that chart. And that's just not how I trade. And anyways, where I ended up on that thought was basically saying that we like to say this thing about meme coins where you're gambling, right? And I think we need to stop saying that. The reason I think we need to stop saying that is because, hey, there's people out there that, crush the meme coin market every day based on their analysis, right? And just because it's a particular kind of analysis that I don't like or I'm not good at, doesn't mean that it's not. Oh, that's a good point. Okay, I'll look at that. Just because it's a particular kind of analysis that I don't like or I'm not good at, doesn't mean that someone else isn't good at it, right? And so I think we need to stop saying that it's gambling because, no matter what the form of analysis is, people, dissect crypto Twitter and are able to get on the trend before it becomes a trend, and that's a skill. That is a form of analysis. Some people are not intimidated by the way that a lot of these meme coin charts look, and they see things that I'm not conditioned to see because I look at large caps all the time. More power to you. When you're buying a lotto ticket, there is no world in which you can buy a lotto ticket based on analysis, right? And that's the difference. So I think we need to stop saying that memes are gambling. It's not necessarily. The difference between gambling or not gambling on meme coins is you. You are the difference, right? I stay out of them. That's me. I will come over here and look at the since JG threw it out there, I'll look at SPX 69 against Solana. Let's see what we got. SPX 69 against Solana. So this is going to pull from Radium. Is this the right thing? Someone tell me if this is the right thing. SPX Sol, is that right? See, the chart still, I still hate reading that chart. Everything about it is so strange to me. What I can see, like, if I just took the candlesticks off of the chart, is that the right thing? If you took the candlesticks off of the chart, I mean, one thing that you can still look at is like the EMA lines, the Bollinger Bands, the RSI. You can still get over here on the on the RSI, on the relative strength index, you can wait for it to bottom at 30, and then you can throw a bag at it, right? And you can do that on any time frame. You can wait for it to touch 30 on the RSI and throw a bag at it with a stop loss drawn with multiple touch points, or a stop loss drawn below an area with multiple touch points. So, yeah, I'm not saying that it's illegible. I'm just saying I don't like it. Sui and Ando, he said. Sui. Let's look at Sui USDT. So, on the 1 minute, I would not be looking for a long. I'm going to let this come back down to, especially because Sui is up like 30% on the week, which means that on the 1 minute, I'm even less likely to want to enter a scalp when the RSI is in the middle of the range right here. I'll go ahead and let it come back down to 30. Even if it goes up before it comes back down to 30, right? I'll let it come back down to 30 and I'll scalp along, or I'll let it come back up to 70 and I'll scalp a short. Either way, I don't want to be doing anything in this area, personally. Come up to the 7 minute. 7 minute chart on Sui. Okay, so The MACD is curving back down. The RSI is on a sharp downward swing, and it may cross underneath the purple, may cross underneath the yellow. If it does, you know, it doesn't mean it can't dip down and then come back above, but you know, you may be looking at a move back down closer to 30. Now it is holding the 21 EMA, and technically it's holding the 50 EMA on the 7-minute. And you know, you could say that you've got a little action right here. It's not a falling wedge. But sometimes bull flags are shaped in a way where, I mean, that's a little bit too downward angled for me to feel confident about calling that a bull flag. Sometimes they work that way, but so you could call this a descending trading channel, right? Not as bullish as a falling wedge. But you could call this a descending trading channel, and could look for a couple more candles to play out and then look at a breakout. But look, it's breaking below it right now. So, you know, you could also draw this where the first 3 candles are in the channel. Right? The first 3 candles are forming the channel right here. And it's this 4th candle that's breaking it bearish. Now we're starting to get a wick at the 21 EMA, and you'll have to see if it, well, that candle closed. You got a wick on the 21 EMA. And now on this new 7-minute candle, you have to see if it's going to hold that. I don't feel good about it holding it because the RSI is coming down. It's crossed bearish unless it can reverse course really quickly. And the MACD is rolling over. So I don't know. I don't feel good about longing the 7-minute, and I don't feel good about shorting the 7-minute either because, well, you have to see if it's going to hold the 21. The minute it closes a candle below the 21, I could consider scalping a short. Let me see. Sonic. Alson. My radar, ATM. Let's see. Let's look at some Sonic. Sonic USDT on Bitfinex. Whoa. What are you doing to me, JG? Whoa. Is this the right thing that I'm looking at? JG, you gotta tell me if this is the right Sonic. This is my worst nightmare. I mean, I have a lot of, you know, that's hyperbole, of course. There's a lot of things that would be worse to be startled by in my dreams, but you get the point. I don't like this. I don't know what to do with this. You know, and again, that's because I'm looking at larger caps all day. But man, I genuinely don't know what to say about this. Okay, on the daily chart, On the daily chart, I can see that RSI has broken out bullish. I can see that the MACD, although the MACD line and the signal line started to narrow, it did not cross bearish, and it started to separate right here, and the blue line continued to run up. It's approaching the 0 line, and a potential cross coming above the 0 line soon could be extremely bullish, especially with the way that the RSI broke out so strongly. Yet you're still at 58. There's still a lot of room to run. Not only that, you're above this volume node on the VRVP, and this is today's new candle, so you got to see where it closes. But if you want to take the risk, you can choose to not wait for it to close and take your bets that it's going to pop up to the next volume node. And if it does, it's probably going to spike up into this node somewhere. And, it's not like there's that much data right here, so it could just pierce it. These things are not gospel. Even Bitcoin, sometimes we'll see a volume node, a bigger volume node like this, and look at it and just pierce it. So who knows? The fact that we're above this, yeah. One way that I would play this without a stop loss, which, they say you should never trade without a stop loss. Yes and no. Yes and no. There's other ways to mitigate risk, right? Like, if you're going to throw $100 at it on some leverage, to where your liquidation price would be at a point where you're going to say to yourself, okay, I'm hoping that it doesn't come back under the 21 EMA when it's broken out bullish on the daily chart, which is a fair thing to assume. You could use whatever leverage as high as you want, that still puts the liquidation price under the 21 EMA somewhere. Or you could put it where the liquidation price is even under the previous lows and just hope that it doesn't make a lower low. And you can rationalize to yourself, why would it make a lower low when we've, broken above the 21 EMA? I suppose it did here as well, but it did so on, look at the Bollinger Bands right here. It got back above the 21 EMA, but it did it this would be, you have to ask yourself, this would be a huge V-shaped recovery, and they usually don't happen that way. So you'd have to assume that you're going to bottom again. But now you're breaking the 21 EMA with a curve up. This is your third time actually breaking above the 21 EMA, but it wasn't curving on this one. And the MACD was not looking at crossing the 0 line, and Bitcoin was probably not looking quite so bullish. This was April 8th, and I think we all saw some more chop. Actually a lot of people were calling for lower prices still on Bitcoin on April 8th. So this time Bitcoin is in a trend reversal, and you've popped above the 21 EMA. So, you could throw $100 at it on leverage and try to get your liquidation price under these lows or just wherever you feel comfortable. Let me see here. I want to grab it at 0.25 and sell it at 29. Sonic, you mean? Always make sure you have the largest trading pools available for a given coin for better charts. Yeah, I mean that's something for me to learn. Like I said, I don't, that's not my that's not my thing. I look at large caps, and so when you say drop it in the comment for me where I should go to look at this chart. Let's see here. But yeah, that's one way to play that, trying to get your liquidation price down here, right? Like that. I know that's frowned upon, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to mitigate risk. Like, right, one way to mitigate risk is not throwing more than $100 at something. I'll give you an example. In 2021, not 21, sorry, 2023, I bought a little bit of BitBoy's Ben coin, right? And I'll be honest, yeah, the whole thing sounded elaborate to me. I'll say it that way. The idea was that you were going to get billboards, plastered everywhere, in New York City, and fly a blimp over the Bitcoin conference with an XRP advertisement, and and that was supposed to be low-hanging fruit. Like, you were also going to get crypto adoption centered curriculum into schools and all sorts of things, right? Like, it all seemed it did seem elaborate. It did seem like outside of the Ranger potential, for a YouTuber to do, So, at the time I did think to myself, look, if someone can do it, it's Ben, because, his charisma exudes that sort of feeling, right? Like, if anyone can do it, it's Ben. So I was like, look, I'll throw $200 at it. It's enough. It's enough money to where if it pops, you get a nice little payout from it. And if it doesn't, well, the people out there, and heart goes out to them. I don't like this for them, but people that put tens of thousands of dollars in that thing, surely somebody out there put their life savings into it. I mean, people say on Twitter and stuff that they put their life savings into it, and it's hard to know what's real or not on Twitter, but surely someone did. And I just can't fathom doing that. So my real point is there's more than one way to mitigate risk, and one of those ways is, one of those ways is using a stop loss, and another one of those ways is, entering a hopium trade with an amount of money that you're okay getting liquidated on. That's still mitigating risk, right? If you don't get liquidated, you can still, it's still true that if you win more trades than you lose with that strategy, then you're still winning, right? So there's more than one way to mitigate risk. Sorry for that tangent. Charts S 1.7 MC. Yeah, I have a couple of things to learn on that one. I don't know where to go exactly based on that. The best one I found was an S Sol pair on Dex Screener. Okay. Let's do it. Share this tab instead. S Sol. It's from Meteora pool, has 93 million in it. Why can't I just search S Sol? I don't know if I'm gonna find this thing. I'm gonna have to have Tyler show me where to go or something. Hope Jordan, hope y'all got your SPX 6900. We just looked at it and hanging around on this drum. Been banging on this drum for a while now. Yeah, speaking of this drum, we've been banging on this same beat for a while now. We'll come over here and change up the music a little bit. How about daydreaming? Sure. Yeah, so we were just saying on SPX, it's finished in 805, by the way, if you're just hopping on with us. Little 4.5% blonde ale, starting with something lighter, crisper. It's a little earlier in the day. Been on the stream for over an hour and a half now, so you gotta pace yourself a little bit. Deck Screener is annoying, pulls up so many shitty pools with meaningless charts. That's what it looked like to me. I was like a fish out of water on that thing. I'll be really honest with you. I don't use a lot of DEXs. I use MinSwap. I'm a huge Cardano nerd. Like I stake my Cardano on chain, liquid staking. My ADA stays in my wallet when I delegate to a pool, and I stake my ADA that way. I earn passive rewards, and I get on MinSwap, and I trade tokens on MinSwap. Really, I just buy and hold tokens on MinSwap because I don't like trading that way when I can trade. Unfortunately, when I can trade on centralized platforms that are easier. I hate saying that. It's just the truth. But I interact with Cardano DeFi all the time by buying and holding projects on MinSwap, and also doing yield farming. I've gotten thousands and thousands of Min tokens in rewards just by getting in a farming pool on MinSwap and letting those rewards come in. So, other than Cardano, I'm not big on the DEXs or the ecosystems of a lot of other chains out there. I'm just not, and it's not a knock on anything. The biggest reason why I'm not into it is because how many coins can I buy? Right? Like I have my I have my portfolio and my main portfolio in like Cardano XRP, Render, and Ondo, and and I treat Bitcoin like my savings, and other than that, I have money wrapped up in my trading accounts, and I have funds. Everything else goes on to MinSwap after those things. So, it's hard to be more experienced than your pockets are deep. You know what I mean? It's like the same principle that you have no business owning over a certain amount of coins. You're spread too thin. You're good, bro. Thanks for checking. Hey, no problem. But I'm gonna get on that and I'm gonna learn it because everything is an opportunity to explore new things, even if I don't trade on these. So Jordan, also we're in a simulation. By the way, Jordan, Tyler has poker tonight. He hopped on for like 5 minutes earlier, but other than that, he has some crypto poker to play with the Pluto Alliance community. So he's going to be doing some of that. And where did I leave off? So SPX 6900, I was basically saying, number one, it's a hard chart for me to read on the lower time frames because you got all those gaps, and you have those gaps because of the low volume coming in on that chart. But I was saying on the daily, we're breaking the 21 EMA on the daily with a pretty large candle, like you said, up 20% in the last 24 hours. We're breaking that 21 EMA with a big candle, and I would feel good about along that candle is also getting above a big volume node. And so, hey, I think that that could be a great entry on this coin that everyone seems to love so much. That being said, I'll look at a thing or two that I want to look at for my own pleasure. Let me come over here and share this tab instead. Let's see if I can get some Iagon action. Okay. On the daily chart for Iagon, DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, AI, cloud storage project built on top of Cardano. Look at that wick, man. That's wild. So just like a lot of assets, we're getting above the 21 EMA, and the bottom here was kind of rounded. It's hard to see because there are kind of like two major bottoms right here, but this whole move looks more rounded than anything, and you can see that on the MACD as well. Who is it that someone's voice is in my head? I think it's AJ. Is it rounded bottoms pay the bills, right? You also have the Bollinger Bands. I love to see this on the Bollinger Bands, where they constrict and get tighter and come closer together, signaling that volatility has been low. And when volatility has been low, that means it's going to come back in at some point. So, the Bollinger Bands constricting means that a bigger move is coming. It doesn't tell you whether that move is to the upside or to the downside, but it tells you that a bigger move is coming. And what happened to my VRVP and why it's not reloading. There it goes. But now I gotta get back to Iagon. Okay. It doesn't like to give me a VRVP on Iagon. That's fine. We've crossed bullish on the RSI, and the RSI is still low. That means you have a hell of a run that could be ahead of you on Iagon with the RSI this low. I just want to see these EMAs start to cross bullish over each other. Let me look at the 4-hour chart. Okay, 4-hour. You're above the 21, the 100, and the 50 EMAs. You're crossing bullish on the RSI. The MACD line could be crossing above the signal line pretty soon and coming back into the green on the volume bars down here. The moment that this gets above the 200 EMA and confirms above it, it's probably breakout time for Iagon, and it's probably going to go on a tear. So, price action above the 200 EMA equals a breakout. Of course, you got to let it confirm, but 8 times out of 10, price action flipping the 200 EMA and holding it equals a breakout. That's the kind of math I like. And on the 1 hour chart for Iagon, we are holding above, or we just broke back above, and now we're holding every major EMA. And MACD and RSI look good on the 1 hour. See, this is not something I would trade anyways. So when I'm looking at something like Iagon, I'm looking for where do I want to buy it on spot, right? And the answer to that is back here, right? No, but really, I also see kind of a head and shoulder wanting to form right here. And the breakout, you've got a little bit of an ascending neckline. You know, this little pop above it right here was invalidated, of course, but, you know, you're kind of, that's because we came back and formed a right shoulder, right? The pattern wasn't invalidated. You know, there was no, you wouldn't consider there to be a neckline to break at that point. So, and look, man, we're pushing above it right now. So there you go. Let's look at Indigo. RWA play on Cardano. RWA, synthetic assets, and AI agents. AI agents coming to Indigo. I've talked about this before on the live stream. We even clipped a video for this specifically. It was on that specific video, I bought $300 of Indigo on the stream. AI agents coming to Indigo. What you'll be able to do is for if you hold 5,000 Indigo tokens, you'll be able to bind your bag, so to speak, to an AI trading agent. And so AI agents meeting an RWA project on my favorite chain sounds like a delicious recipe to me. Let's see. Indigo. Let's go Indigo. We are looking to pop back up and hold above the 200 EMA. Also, let's look at the 4 hour. Okay, so same thing. We're holding the 100 EMA extremely well, and we're looking to get up here and break the 200. Same thing I said with Iagon. Once you break the 200 EMA on the 4 hour or whatever time frame you're looking at, really, it's just the lower the time frame is, you need confluence to start coming in. But price action, breaking above and holding above the 200 EMA equals breakout time. There is room to run on the RSI a bit. Room to run on the MACD. 21 is coming steadily higher and taking out the higher time frames. I like it. Again, again, with something like this, I'm not trading it. My question is when to buy it on spot. And the answer to that is always type it in the chat if you know the answer to that. The answer to that, when do I want to buy it on spot? The answer to that is always DCA. I think I may have missed the pump on SPX and S tonight. Sad day, JG, sad day. We all miss pumps. I just did it earlier. Yeah, I'll show you what I did earlier. Let's see here. So share this tab instead. Am I on the screen? Okay, so what I did earlier today is I closed a trade on Acash in profit. I do like Acash, by the way. That is a slight, I know I say I only look at larger caps. I mean, I do, when I look at something lower cap, it's still in the top 200. But I'm a big fan of Acash, primarily because my render bags have treated me so well, right? My render bags have treated me very well over the last couple years, and I think that Acash is a sort of more innovative render in the fact that in the way that it integrates AI in ways that render doesn't do yet, right? Like render is an AI adjacent project because it's deep in because the distributed GPU rendering power is adjacent to AI. Big AI data processing takes GPU power, right? So it's part of the infrastructure that 3D graphics, animation, AI, anything that needs rendering power, it underpins this. So Acash is also in the DeepIn niche, but Acash is integrating AI agents into its ecosystem. So because of that, I think that it's a lower cap and also newer, slightly more cutting edge version of render, and my render bags have treated me so well that it's made me a fan of Acash as well. Come over here and I'll look at my derivatives trading. And so here's what's going on here. I am in a 10x, I'm in a 2x long entry on ADA at 61 cents. I have not closed that. And I've been slightly more in profit than this. I think I've been up to $1,400 in profit. But I think that Cardano is going to have an incredibly bullish May. And I'll give the reasons for that on a stream when Tyler's back on. But if you follow Crypto Crow, who's one of my favorite voices in the space, if you follow Crypto Crow, he's calling for an incredibly bullish May, and I agree with that. And I don't think that just because he says it. I think that the charts and just my belief in the Cardano ecosystem and the Cardano community tells me that it's time, right? So anyways, I'm in that long and I'm holding that and keeping it open. That's why it's lower leverage. That's why it's only 2x leverage. I'm holding that one. I'm keeping it open. Now, this bag down here that has about $1,400 in this this bonus wallet is what it's called on Bybit. I worked my way up to this. So it takes into account this is the way that rewards work on these exchanges, by the way. I don't know if you guys are big into leverage trading, or if you're big into these platforms like Bybit, Femex, so on and so forth, these derivatives trading platforms. But if you don't know, and you're probably already very well aware of this, I'm just talking at this point. When you see affiliate deals like the one we have in our own description that says, hey, sign up for BidFi and get up to 8,100 USDT in bonuses. Well, it's like you have to either deposit a certain amount to get that, or work your way up to a certain amount of trading volume to get those bonuses, right? So after my first deposit, I got like a $50 bonus. Cool. That was cool. Then, I was doing some trading. I entered a very, I'll just show you what I entered over here. A couple of you guys have probably seen this already, but on CoinM futures, I threw, and this one was rather risky, but I threw almost I threw almost 8,000. Okay, I threw 7,500 XRP into this wallet, which is a lot of XRP for me. Like, it's not all of my XRP at all, but it's a large chunk of XRP to do this with, and it's kind of risky. But I think that we're entering the phase of this market where this move is going to pay off for me. I threw, a lot of XRP on here at 2x leverage on CoinM futures. So right now, if I close this out, I would walk away with 850 XRP, because you take your profits in the coin rather than in USDT. So, I do that because if XRP goes up to $5, I'm making gains on gains, right? I'm making the gains from the leverage trade, I'm making the gains from the move. But when I take my profits in XRP, well, the XRP that I have is now that much more valuable. So, I'm doing that. At one point in this trade, I was up as much as 1,400 XRP. And I did not close it at that point because I really do think that May is going to really pop off across the space. And because this was a pretty sizable deposit that I made, I started getting, I'll come back over to my USDT wallet or account. And because of that large deposit, I started to get more bonuses, and I got a couple $100 bonuses. I put it into a trade on Acash, and I closed that trade this morning $130 in profit. And after I closed that, I got a notification pop up on my phone that I had $1,000. I had $1,000 in bonuses, in new bonuses. So I had worked my way up from 50 in my bonus wallet, because this is just my bonus wallet, right? I worked my way up from $50 in my bonus wallet through a combination of winning trades and getting more bonuses. I worked my way up to about $400 in my bonus wallet, and then I woke up this morning to $1,000 of bonus money in that wallet on BidFi. So at that point, You know, I had already closed my Akash trade, and you know, when I closed it, you know, JG, you said you think you missed the move tonight. Well, Akash continued to run pretty good after I closed that trade. Does it matter in this situation? Not really, because when I closed it, I got that bonus, so it's fine. So I got that bonus, and I went into, because it's my bonus wallet, I went into a 10x trade on XRP, and I'm currently down $72 on it. I entered that this morning, but again, because I got that $1,000 bonus, this is one that I'm looking to hold for a little while, not too long. But this specific one, I'm looking to hold, you know, until we get back up toward that 230 range, and maybe I've made, you know, $500 on it, close it, and look for the next trade. So, so I'm down a little bit, you know, right now. It's a little longer than I like to spend it down, which has been all day, but it's just one day, you know. I have been in trades where I've been okay being down for several days before a pop. So, you know, it's one of those things where you trade because you're anticipating a bigger pop to come in the market. Bonk is running, he said. I bet it is, Tyler. I bet it is. Did I just dox Tyler's account? I'm sorry. So, man, we're 2 hours in. We've covered quite a bit here, I think. Let me look at Bonk since it's running. Maybe if I pull Bonk up on the screen, it's gonna pull in the Bonk community onto our live stream. Let me see here. Bonk. I'll just search for it on my on Bitfi right here. Bonk. Does it not want to show me? Okay, so Bonk is running. Well, guys, I think that it's time for me to hop off of here. So, cheers if you're still on the stream, and then hopefully next time I'm on here, next time maybe me and Tyler are on here together the next time, and what I want to do is give a big crypto market update for May. And I want to talk about why May is really the time to watch. Now, I did sort of call mid-April a while back, you know, for things to start to break back out to the upside. And I think we saw the beginning of that, but the meat of the move is going to be in May, I believe. And I think that we're going to push back up above 100K for Bitcoin before we get the real Bitcoin dominance break, which is like the best case scenario, by the way. Like, you know, to let Bitcoin continue to run for a couple more weeks, And to have Bitcoin already at $100,000 before Bitcoin dominance breaks down, which means that all of the altcoins, it means that Cardano will be at like $1.20 when Bitcoin dominance breaks, or who knows where it'll be. Maybe it'll be at $1.60. Maybe it'll be at $2 when Bitcoin dominance actually breaks. Maybe XRP will be at $4 when Bitcoin dominance actually breaks. We'll have to see where things are sitting when that happens. But having a couple more weeks of upside for Bitcoin dominance, sorry, my cat walking across the screen. A couple more weeks of run for Bitcoin dominance could mean that a lot of your altcoins are in a higher spot when Bitcoin dominance breaks, and they're actually running from that higher spot rather than running from where they're at now. Because once Bitcoin dominance breaks, you have until it gets down to like 48, 49% or so, wherever the bottom comes in at. The clock is ticking on altcoin season once Bitcoin dominance breaks down, right? So if our altcoins can get a little bit higher before the clock starts ticking, that could be shaping up for something really epic. But I will talk more about that on the next one. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Blockchain Brew Show. Peace.